Are you the friend who's always being asked for health advice? Now imagine turning that passion into a fulfilling career with our Become a Nutrition Coach program. Step into a world where your enthusiasm for wellness becomes the heart of your own thriving business. With me as your professor and guide and coach on our user-friendly digital platform, you can learn from anywhere at your very own pace. It's perfect for your busy life. Envision empowering others to live their healthiest lives, all while growing a career you love. You're not just gaining a certification here, you're joining a community of like-minded professionals ready to support and celebrate with you every step of the way. So what are you waiting for? It's time to nourish your future and help change lives, including your own. Head over to nutritiouslife.com/BNC for a free class and a sneak peek of the program. Your journey to becoming a nutrition coach begins now. Welcome to the Living a Nutritious Life Podcast. I'm Keri Glassman, your host, and today on the podcast, I sat down with Dr. Amy Shah, double board certified physician, nutrition expert, and best-selling author, to discuss why so many of us feel just so exhausted all the time and how our daily habits impact our energy, gut health, and hormones, especially for women in midlife. From the power of sunlight to the importance of sleep, you know I love talking about the sleep D pillar, to simple, powerful tweaks to lifestyle like earlier dinners, Dr. Shah shared practical strategies to help you recharge and optimize your well-being. So if you're ready for a level up this week, keep listening. And as always, please rate, review, and share. Let's do this. Welcome to Living a Nutritious Life. I'm Keri Glassman, a celebrity registered dietitian nutritionist. Join me every Tuesday on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms as I bring in some heavy hitters to share the latest in nutrition and wellness science. We dive deep into food, sleep, stress, relationships, and so much more. Your weekly guide to a happier, healthier, more nutritious life. Welcome, Dr. Amy Shah. It is so amazing to have you on the Living a Nutritious Life podcast. I am so excited to chat with you today.
I am so excited to chat with you. It's been a long time. We've been wanting to do this. It's almost like a fun chat.
Exactly. It's just like we just like sitting down. We're catching up. We're catching up over a matcha, but instead we're recording it for everyone to listen to. So, and I don't have a matcha here, which I wish I did. But
I know.
next time in person with a matcha.
Yes.
This time, no matcha, not in person, but recorded for everybody else to listen to. So yeah, I cannot wait to chat lots of topics. I've got questions for you on. Okay, but just to start, to give our listeners, if you don't know the incredible Dr. Amy Shah, you're probably following her on Instagram, but in case you happen to not be and you don't know her, I want you to learn a little bit about the incredible Dr. Amy Shah from her. So Amy, can you tell us what sparked your interest in integrative medicine and how has your approach evolved over the years? Because I know you've been doing this a long time, like myself. You've been in this, You've been in the field for a long time. So how has it evolved and where's your interest come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, thank you for having me, Keri. And second of all, I think what happened is I was always interested in nutrition my whole life because my parents came to America when I was 5 years old to kind of give me, as their only child and as a girl, like a better life, a chance to have a platform or do more things. And when I was growing up, it was like this big topic in my family was my dad was one of 5 brothers, and all of them were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, like one after the other, like really early in their life.
All of them?
All of them, all 5.
Wow.
And my grandfather had it, and like everybody in our family had it. And so it was kind of like a big deal, and everybody talked about it a lot about like, and they were kind of thinner people. It wasn't like a typical situation where they gained a ton of weight. What did happen, I think, and now that in retrospect, I think about it, it was like their nutrition changed, like they came from a very traditional way of eating. Everything was bought fresh and cooked to the hustle immigrant lifestyle, which meant living in New York, living in a very working two jobs, eating out a lot, drinking
Mm-hmm.
Coke and Pepsi, whatever, pizza. And I think that made me really interested in nutrition and metabolism. And so I decided to do nutrition undergrad and then
Mm-hmm.
do medicine after that, medical school. And when I came out of all of my training, internal medicine and then fellowship, I was like, God, I'm not doing anything in practice like integrating nutrition in any way. And more than
Yeah.
anybody, like nutrition is just not really part of medicine.
Right.
And doctors don't really learn about it. And there's really no room with like the 15 to 20-minute appointment slots that we are given. So when I joined my practice, the first day of practice, I had a full schedule of patients and I had 20 to 30 minutes for a new patient and 15 for a follow-up. And I was like, I can barely get my words out, like let them get their words out. And it's already 15,
Right.
20 minutes. And so a
And what type
year.
of medicine were you practicing then at that
So
time?
I did internal medicine and then I did allergy immunology as my
Okay.
fellowship. So in America, immunology is combined with allergy as a fellowship. And I had an internal medicine residency background. And so
Okay.
all in all, what ended up happening is I ended up joining a practice that was both immunology and allergy specialty practice. And basically within a year and a half of starting, I was like, wait a second. I worked all these years to be here, and this is the final destination. And there is not one part of me that feels like I'm doing what I'm meant
Yeah.
to do. And it's like a really bad feeling to have when
Yeah.
you've gone through like 20 years of schooling for something to be like,
Absolutely.
oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt you.
No, no, that's
I'm loving the story, but it's as I'm listening to you, you're not the first doctor that
yes.
has said this. I mean, I've heard this numerous times from people in our field that have gone in a different direction because of that, because they go into it from this passion for health and helping people and realizing like doing it in this traditional way is really difficult to do. So,
Yeah, and I think what happens is you always think that at some point you'll have ownership of your time and like you'll be able to create a practice that you want. And so I kept thinking at some point at the end of all this that I would just be like the old way that doctors used to practice in small towns. Like you have a family coming in and like you
yeah.
get to know them and then you help them with all parts of their life. And I had this like, scenario in my head. And when I couldn't do it, I had to figure something else out. So I just started to write blogs for fun, for free, just
Okay.
sending out, talking about nutrition and health and wellness. And that's really how I got started in the whole field. Is like I was just practicing doctor, and then on the side, I would do these like free things, like write for free, just about my passion, things I was interested in, looking into myself, the research, nutritional tips, habits, wellness tips, things like that.
Oh, that's so interesting. And I didn't realize I knew you had a degree in nutrition, and I know you talk about nutrition a lot and you share incredible tips and information and you educate so well. But I didn't realize that it was your undergrad degree. That's so
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, that's so, so
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, I think that, looking back at it, obviously, you probably think this too, but I feel like when I think about the nutrition training that I got and the conferences that I would go to, it was so skewed. It was
Oh,
very
yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
owned by the big companies, a lot of the training and the conferences.
Oh, absolutely. And it was all, like the very traditional government guidelines.
Yes.
That's how all of the education was. Oh yeah. I always say like I learned a lot in I got a master's in clinical nutrition and I learned a lot, but there was a lot I didn't learn and
Yes.
there was a lot of information I don't necessarily agree with. It was a good foundation. And it gave me the foundation to continue to learn. But I have learned a lot over the years. Obviously, nutrition has also changed. But even
Yeah.
so, even coming right out of school, there was still a lot that I hadn't learned. And there was also just a way that traditional education was taught. So yeah, I'm with you there. Okay, so I want to ask you, you wrote the book, I'm So Effing Tired. Can you talk to us? Why are we all so effing tired? Because I have a feeling that a lot of the people listening to this podcast right now are saying to themselves, why am I so effing tired right at this moment?
Yeah, I mean, that is probably the biggest complaint, especially for midlife, or even just 30 up
Yeah.
women. And I think that, it was right when the pandemic was going on. And I said to people, and this is so, uh, you probably relate to this. Um, in the pandemic, we weren't doing a lot of stuff. Like we couldn't go outside, we couldn't do our usual work life. But we were almost more tired and listless and like unmotivated than ever. And so the point is that feeling tired is not necessarily about um, moving a lot, doing a lot of things. Like there's that tired. And then there's the feeling of never not having energy, like not
Mm-hmm.
feeling energized because you're not doing the things that energize you.
Right.
And
Is that like when
that
you sleep too much? Like when you sleep too much, you're more
Yes.
exhausted.
Yeah.
Right.
Or like when you're not really doing the things that your body actually needs to thrive. So, our body, for example, lives on circadian rhythms. Like
Right. Like,
80% of our body's processes need sunlight
yeah.
and darkness to function properly. And when they
Mm-hmm.
don't get that, you kind of get that jet lagged feeling, which is like that tired feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Even our gut has bacteria that
Yeah.
need a circuit, like that need
Yep.
sunlight and sleep. So one of the biggest things I talked about besides nutrition is getting that circadian rhythm a little more aligned
Mm-hmm.
with the sun and light dark cycle. So not eating so close to bed, for example, like doing a circadian style fast, getting sunlight in the morning, and at least up to an hour a day is like the recommendation to really feel energized. Like our body
Mm-hmm.
needs that input to be energized. So that was one of, especially when this came out, it was like during the pandemic and nobody had a schedule. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
had food that
Yeah.
they were eating that was fresh, and everybody felt like crap. And so I really was saying like, hey, this is the reason that you feel so bad. And of course, for women, especially for women in that 40 plus range, this is perimenopause.
Mm-hmm.
Perimenopause is a roller coaster of hormones that create havoc in your brain, also in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And you often feel tired because your body is adjusting to that kind of hormonal roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing how much I think sunlight can do for us and how much we don't really give it the credit it deserves. I mean, it
Literally,
powers the
like
world. Like
it
we should
literally
give it a lot more credit, but people just don't necessarily give it, or not that they don't give it. I think if they think about it, they give it the credit, but they don't implement it on a daily basis. Like they get up, they go to work, they don't think about, oh, I have to get sunlight. They might think, oh, I need to eat breakfast, I need to go to the gym, I need to take my supplements, but they don't necessarily prioritize and think, I need to get some sun. And it is so critically important. And especially now when people have such low vitamin D levels. I mean,
Yeah.
I think almost everyone I see ends up needing a vitamin D supplement because their vitamin D levels are so low.
Oh, yeah, especially for that woman over 35 or 40, it's like vitamin D being low is like almost a completely a part of, living. So I always say to people, like, if you couldn't do anything else, moving up your dinner time so you have a little space
Mm-hmm.
between the last meal of your day and sleep, and then waking up and getting some sunlight in the morning at some point and getting like adequate sleep, those 3 or 4 things that you can do to kind of reset your circadian rhythms is like a switch that goes off in your body. Like all of a sudden, everything starts to work a little bit better. And then once you start to add on the nutritional changes to that, like you can literally change your life. Like, I always talk about how you can completely change your gut microbiome within 3
Mm-hmm.
days. I mean,
Yeah.
there's good studies on that. So it
I,
doesn't take a long time to reset.
I know. I think that's so fascinating because I've seen some of those studies too. And I think that is so fascinating how just even in a few days you can change, what's going on in your gut. And that is just, yeah, it's super fascinating. So what do you think in terms of we talked about the sunlight in the morning, but I like that you're talking about this with nighttime. And I think a lot of times people think of, they know they shouldn't eat right before they go to bed because of the digestion and all of that, but they don't necessarily think about it in terms of how it's affecting their circadian rhythm and their energy. So how long do you suggest people wait between finishing their last meal of the day and going to bed? Like
Yeah, so
ideally, what would be the time?
in
Yeah.
the ideal situation, you want a 12 to 15-hour gap between your last meal and your first meal the next day. So for example, if you're eating an early dinner like at 6 p.m., then you can, breakfast can be at 6, 8, 10 a.m., depending on how long you want to do your intermittent fast. I think everybody should be doing at least 12 hours. I think
Yeah.
that's reasonable and something that will improve your life right away. It seems so silly, but most people are eating for 16 hours a day. And so,
Yeah.
and just resting, without food for like 7 to 8 hours. So it's really crazy that we live in a society where we're like eating all the time or having our last meal or our last drink like really late at night. And so I think going 12 to 15 hours without
Yeah.
food is really great. It's going to improve your energy levels, your digestion. When your circadian rhythms kind of get back into place, the biggest thing you're going to notice is a rise in energy.
Yeah. It's funny you're bringing up the intermittent fast because I think from what I know about you and how you talk about it, I think you're probably a little bit more pro intermittent fasting than I am. But I think we actually like meet and are on the exact same page with that 12 to 15. So I'm happy to hear that, especially with the 12. So how I always think about it is, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this, but I always think about it that everyone should be getting about the 12 hours because to me, but I don't think of that even as an intermittent fast. I think of that as like normal eating, right?
Mhm.
Everybody should have that rest, whether you want to call it an intermittent fast or not, like it's going to be beneficial for a variety of reasons. I mean, even just for the simple reason of you're not going to be, eating, let's say, that bag of popcorn at 11 o'clock at night while you're watching, your fourth episode of whatever on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
So just from stopping from even if you're eating something healthy, it's just stopping eating those extra calories late at night, but also giving your digestion that rest. I mean, there's a lot of benefits that come from that. So I kind of think everyone should probably have that 12. But again, I don't really even think of that as like your intermittent fasting. I think of that as sort of just normal eating. Anything more than that, I always say that I think it's excellent for many people. And there are many, many, many benefits to intermittent fasting. We know that there's a lot of benefits, there's even brain health benefits. There's lots of benefits. But I think for a certain group of people, and this is where I think we might differ or maybe we don't, but I'm so curious what you think. I think for that midlife woman, I've seen it also cause more stress on their body, like waiting too long. So I'm curious, like what your thoughts are on that. As far as like the midlife woman goes with going more like that 15, 16 hours.
Yeah, I am completely on board with what you're saying, actually. So what I say is that if you're a woman in perimenopause, so in your 35 plus range to 50s, you have a lot of stress in your life already. So you're probably not sleeping well often. You're probably, having sleep disturbances a lot. And maybe you have a very stressful life and have a family and kids. And so there's a lot of stress already coming in. And so adding like a long fast is very stressful to the body.
Right.
And so you're just kind of adding a lot more stress to your body. And then you don't often have enough recovery. And so a lot of women find themselves like doing a lot of HIIT workouts and then doing intermittent fasting. Then they're not sleeping enough. And then they're super stressed about life in general. And they end up not getting the results that they want. And that was me. My old self was like a cardio bunny. I would think that sleeping was like being lazy. I thought that like going for a nature walk was a waste of time. I thought that fasting was only useful if you could do it for like 16 plus hours. And I think I just drove myself into a cortisol frenzy.
Right.
And I wasn't getting any of the results. And most importantly, I was exhausted because my body was never getting the recovery that it really needed.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay, good. I'm glad to know. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I thought we maybe differed a little bit there, and I was really curious to hear your thoughts on intermittent fasting. So I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to hear that.
And I think like women, I've changed. Okay, so There was a time when my cortisol was so out of control that I couldn't really do much of a fast at all. 12 to 14 hours was like as much as I could handle.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I started to get control of my life and I started to sleep better and I'd have a better recovery, then once in a while, if I want to throw in a longer fast, like if I want to go work out in the morning before having
Mm-hmm.
my first meal, I'm able to do that because now I have a better kind of recovery plan than I had
Mm-hmm.
before. And I think that that's what I see all the
Yeah.
time with women is like, you need to sleep to refill that hormonal reserve. You
Yep.
need to have nature time to fill that hormonal reserve. You need to have good food. And then when you
Yeah.
have a big hormonal reserve, then you can go and do that HIIT workout once in a while. And you
Right.
can do that intermittent fast once in a while because you have that kind of planned out. But
Yeah.
so I've changed a little bit as I've started to go there. But in the beginning, when I was in that really high cortisol state with too many things going on, like juggling all the balls, that was not right for me.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I had this cortisol just flatline. I just had
Yes.
that flat line of cortisol where I was just like depleted where, and for anybody listening, people know, I'm sure you all know listening that cortisol is a big stress hormone, but I always like to remind people that it's not all bad. It actually plays a really important role in terms of being even anti-inflammatory, and it gives us energy, but it's about having the proper amounts of cortisol at the proper time. You want your cortisol to be higher in the morning and then to slope down through the rest of the day. So I just had this like flatline cortisol. So I was right there with you. That same type of thing, just like going, lots of different stress, kids, work, everything. And I had to lean into a lot of the what I say pillars of a nutritious life that I wasn't doing as good of a job on, like you just mentioned, sleep and focusing on doing a little less intense exercise as well. So let's talk about sleep, though. I'm glad you brought that up. Sleep is a pillar of nutritious life. We talk a lot about sleep on this podcast. I'm really curious your best tips for sleep in general, and then maybe specifically for perimenopausal women.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start backwards. For perimenopausal women, I honestly think that you need a lot more sleep than in other stages of your life. So what I mean
Mm-hmm.
is like, I think there's certain hormonal transitions like that postpartum period,
Mm-hmm.
the perimenopause, menopause transition, where you need more time to reset your hormonal reserve. You need more time for that
Mm-hmm.
hypothalamus to be talking to the rest of your body. And you may need more sleep than you've ever needed before. And so don't be
Hmm.
shy to get more than 8 hours if you need it. Like it's okay. You need what you need. And what makes you feel refreshed is what makes you feel refreshed. So I hear it from women all the time. They're like, the 6 to 8 hours just doesn't work for me. Like I'm more on the 8+ hour range. And I'm like, yes, especially when you're dealing with a time of your life where every night is not a quality night of sleep. And to
Yeah.
feel your best, you may need more. So that is that. And
I'm really glad. I'm really, really glad you just said that, because I want to. I'm so happy you said, because I feel like I have so many friends, my age. I'm 52, that will say to me, I just want to go home and get into bed. Like if they're out to dinner, like,
yes,
I don't want to go to dinner. I just want to be in bed. If I can be in bed by
yes,
8 o'clock, I just want,
yes,
but it's almost like they say it, and clients too, but they'll say it in a way that it's like, they almost feel guilty, or
yes.
it's like a bad thing, or it's like, ugh, they feel bad, like they're neglecting something, or and I love that you're saying that, because you're kind of giving people permission. Like there's a reason you want to get into bed at 8 or 9 at night.
Yeah.
It's
And
because your
I think
body
it's
actually really needs it. Yeah.
And I think women are often embarrassed because their partner or society is telling you, like, you're sleeping too much, or you need too much, you're
Yeah.
lazy, or, sleep when you're dead. Like, why are you sleeping so much? That whole scenario. So for many years, I kept searching the literature. I'm like, is it really that women need more sleep? And yes, women do need more sleep.
Hmm.
But the studies, when you take a woman and you put her in a sleep study, and you take her away from all her stresses and all the night awakenings and stuff, if you really look at it, they only need like 11 minutes more sleep technically.
Okay. Okay.
But if you put a woman in a real world environment, as
Mm-hmm.
you know, with our stress, with the hormonal changes that we're having, with our schedules and all the things, it's a lot more than that. So, yeah, if you're a woman listening to this, give yourself permission to sleep
Yeah.
however long you want. That might be 8 hours, that might be 9 hours, that may be closer to 9.5 hours. I mean, it's just you do you.
Yeah, I love. Well, that's why I'm so happy you brought that up, and really gave people permission to do that. I love that. Um, okay, so what can we do? What
Yeah.
what are
And
what?
in general, women only get 17 nights of good sleep every single month. So, like, if you ask a woman and you go through the whole month with her and you say, how many this week, how many good nights of sleep did you have? Or like, and you really count it up on average,
Mhm.
it's like 17 nights. And so it's like
Wow.
almost half the month you don't feel refreshed, even after, after you sleep. And so getting sleep is an issue for women in general. And, um, prioritizing it is often an issue, but I would say that that is the number one thing out of everything you do. You
Mhm.
cannot, you can exercise till you're blue in the face. You can eat the perfect diet. You can
Mhm.
have all the supplements. But if you are not sleeping, you are not getting the full benefit of any of those things. And often I find that people don't realize how important it is and they put everything else kind of higher and they're not getting the full benefits and they're wondering why.
Yeah, I always say you eat all this good food all day, right? And if you're working on your diet and you're eating all this healthy food, but if you don't sleep well, you're not letting your body use all of that good nutrition. It's like you're
Yeah.
putting all the good stuff in, but your body can't use all that good nutrition if you don't let it rest properly. And by
Yes,
the way, I'm saying
100%.
that to myself as well because sleep has been something I've always struggled with my entire life. I've never been a great sleeper. I can fall asleep really easily, but I wake up in the middle of the night multiple times and forget about it during the perimenopause time when hormones are also, out of whack and all of that and lots of stresses in life. It's like, I mean, I wake up and I mean, I can tell you the 20 things that went through my head last night, right?
I
It's
know.
just it's hard. I mean, I work really hard on it and I have a whole routine and everything, but I have to work really hard on it. But I love how you're just explaining like how important and critical it really is to everything else.
I think that night awakening is probably the most disturbing for women in perimenopause
Yeah.
because it's like a lot of us, are so diligent about getting to bed, about taking all the
Yeah.
things that help us, the magnesium, the melatonin, the chamomile, whatever it is. And then at 2 a.m., between 2 and 4 a.m., like it's like, it's literally every night. So what I often tell people is like when your cortisol levels are at a baseline high, um, and you haven't resolved kind of the issues of the day, when there is a little bump of cortisol in the middle of the night there, you wake up because you're already kind of in a lower melatonin state. So you wake up because there's a tiny bit of cortisol bump, and then your mind goes on. Right, you're
Yep.
like, what do I need to do? What did I forget to do? What is going on in the world? Like, what is my kid going to make it through this? Is, all this stuff, right? And that's the biggest problem. So I always tell people that if you do wake up in the middle of the night, and this is what I struggle with this too. Do not get on your phone. Do
Yeah.
not, turn on the TV. Try to stay out of your to-do list. Try to do kind of like that, like shuffle to the bathroom without trying to do a lot of lights and like sounds and stuff.
Mhm.
And try to try to like go to bed without getting into your to-do list. And if you end up going into your to-do list, then sometimes I've heard, and I've tried this too, it's like sometimes once you're in the to-do list, it makes more sense to get up, get out of bed, go to a place, read a book,
Mhm.
and really actually engage your mind in something else before trying to go back to sleep. And I think that that has been effective. So what I've been doing is like, if I'm getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, my urge is to think about, oh my gosh, what do I need to do when I wake up? Like, what
Mhm.
is it?
Mhm.
And turn on the lights and look at my phone. But I try not to do any of that. I try not to even look
Yeah.
at the time if possible. Try to go back to bed and try not to get into the, like into my to-do list. And if I do end up doing that, then I give myself permission to get up and go and read a book, do something that can distract me until I go back to bed. But obviously, the biggest thing you can do, and what most women, this is really hard for most women, is to really manage that stress and the
Mhm.
issues that you're thinking about early in the day,
Yeah,
well before
absolutely.
bed. And I
Yeah.
think when I do a good job of kind of getting through all that and going to bed in peace, then I don't end up waking up, or I end up waking up but then going right back to sleep. It's like that unresolved thinking and worrying
Absolutely.
that kind of gets you in the middle of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm laughing right now though, because so I wake up in the middle of the night also and my head starts going a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes like you, if I've kind of dealt with things and I don't turn on a light when I go to the bathroom, I can get right back to bed much easier. But sometimes, just your head starts spinning, and I'm just
Yeah.
laughing because I'm remembering that last night. You're going to crack up when you hear what was getting me. It's amazing how in the middle of the night, everything is more dramatic.
Oh,
Well,
totally.
last night in the middle of the night, I thought to myself, my daughter's prom dress was supposed to be dropped off today from the dry cleaner, and it wasn't. And I thought to myself, the prom is Saturday. And I was like, what if they lost it? What if it didn't what if it didn't get dropped off because they lost it?
Yes.
It's Thursday. How are we going to have a prom dress? What's going to happen? Oh my God. Like I literally started spiraling
Yes.
about a prom dress last night. Normally it's much bigger issues,
Yes.
but that took me into a whole spiral. And then I was awake and then I started thinking about
Other
other
stuff.
more
Yeah,
important
that you're
things.
worried about. Yeah.
Right. All these other things. No, I'm cracking up. Like that's what got to me in the middle of the night last night. And I'm
That's
laughing because
always it's like that.
right. It's so funny. But I don't know how long the light needs to be on or what the percentage, exactly it does to your melatonin. But when you mentioned that turning on the light, that's such an important thing because I used to go into my bathroom and turn on the light. And I remember reading something at some point, again, I don't remember the exact like number or how long the light needs to be on or whatever. But once you flip that light on, you're messing up your melatonin. So it's
Yes.
like, so now I absolutely never, ever turn on the light. Like I will always
Same.
make sure that there is no light on. So that I changed a long time ago. So that's good. But also something,
Having a ambient light. That's one
yep.
thing that I learned over the years is like there's good studies that show that having an ambient light in the room disturbs your sleep and your blood sugar regulation.
Yeah.
When you have that.
Yeah. So it's so important. And then the other thing you just mentioned, like dealing with your stress during the day. One thing that I recommend to clients a lot is right before you go to bed, like writing down your stress,
Yes.
like just
Yes.
like brain dumping it onto a piece of paper, just even scratching it down. So it's sort of like, okay, I'm putting you to bed. I'll come back
Yes.
to you in the morning, but I've put my stress to bed. And it's sort of like gets it out of your brain onto paper, deal with it the next day instead of it like spinning. So who knows? Maybe if I'd written prom dress,
Yeah, there you go.
maybe it wouldn't have bothered me in the middle of the night. Anyway, but
I always say to myself, like, if anything really bad or really good has happened to me, I can't sleep. Like it's like either or, like I
yeah,
have something exciting going on or I have something not good going on, like that will always keep me awake. And so I think women in general, like I think it's the stat is like 70% of women in that perimenopause, menopause transition have struggles with sleep. So it's like almost like exception if you don't. So I think
right.
it's a really good thing. But I honestly do believe that when I started to not eat before bed, so like
Yeah.
moving up that dinner time, that
Hmm.
really did help my sleep quality. Maybe it's also because you get a little downtime
Hmm.
to do other things before bed, but
Yeah,
like that
absolutely.
really improved. And having a set schedule. So like
Totally.
trying to, and I know it's like almost impossible with teens and our lives, but like, and I've been traveling so much, it's been so crazy. But when you can control
Yeah.
the sleep and wake time, trying to keep it that similar sleep and wake time is really helpful.
I totally agree. And trying to do it even on the weekends as much as you can.
Yeah.
Just keeps you
Within
in
an
a rhythm.
hour. Yeah.
What do you do for supplements for sleep?
Yeah. Oh, for sleep. I love magnesium glycinate. I think
Yeah.
that is my favorite. I started to take it right before my period. So, one of my friends was saying, okay, who's a physician, and she said, I tell a lot of my GYN patients to take magnesium right before their periods because I was having like really bad PMS. This is like years ago. And so I started to take it just like the week before my period. And then as I've gotten older and getting into menopause, I've actually started to take it every night.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like it helps me relax. And it definitely, when I don't have it, I do feel a difference.
Yeah, I take that too. Do you take anything else before bed?
Yeah. So sometimes I kind of rotate. So I have a routine of either a low dose melatonin. So I like between 0.5 and 1.5, or a chamomile, either tea or
I love
supplement.
chamomile. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I'll do, I have like kind of a cortisol reduction thing that has like ashwagandha and L-theanine in it. And so sometimes if I'm really going through a stressful period, I'll have that. And I kind of rotate them all out so that I'm not taking something every day, but I do take the magnesium every day. And then let me think, tart cherry juice sometimes.
Yeah. It's really good.
And yeah, but I try to not do the exact same thing every day because I don't want to like ever be like using one thing every night and not being able to get off of it.
Yeah, I understand that. I used to put tart cherry juice. I forgot about this. I used to put a little tart cherry juice in chamomile tea.
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I haven't done that in so long.
What do you do for your routine, nighttime routine?
So I do magnesium glycinate as well.
Okay.
I love that. And
Yes.
I do chamomile tea. And again, like you, I don't necessarily do everything every night, but I do magnesium glycinate pretty much every night. I take progesterone. So that's not a supplement, obviously, but a hormone therapy. I take progesterone, which absolutely does help.
Yep.
So I take that. I have chamomile tea many nights a week, not every single night. And then what else do I take like regularly as part of my sleep routine? Those are like that's like the regular sleep routine. Sometimes I take something also called Lipocalm. By Quicksilver Scientific. Do you know about that? And that's got like a combo of like L-theanine in it and everything. And again, not every night. Again, like you, I sort of like rotate the thing. I rotate and I kind of get in a routine. And then when I feel like something's not working anymore, I shift it again, but I have like my go-tos. So Lipocalm, I was taking that for a while too. And then I don't know. I think when I then started progesterone, I stopped taking that for a little bit, but then sometimes I add it back in when I feel like I need everything, when I need everything. And I just definitely need a really good night's sleep. I'll take it all. So,
I think I'm headed, I think I'm headed the HRT way at some point. I'm not just there just yet, but progesterone is probably in my future too.
Yeah. And so then I have a question for you though. The melatonin. I only do melatonin if I have jet lag, just to get myself back on track for a couple nights. I don't do it as part of my normal routine at all. And I generally have said not to. So I'm curious how you incorporate that into your routine.
So here's what I think. I think most melatonin supplements are way too high. I mean, if you actually calculate how much melatonin we really need on days where we're trying to just fix our sleep and not is like 0.5 milligrams to 1. People are taking 5 and 10 milligram supplements, and that is way too much for us. And so I think it's marketed very poorly. I think it's like you think that that's just normal and you should be taking like that enormous amount and then you feel hungover the next day. And that's why, because you're just taking way too much. What you want to do is take almost like physiological levels. And that's really useful as you're doing all the other things to train your circadian rhythms. It's especially helpful when you are shifting your schedule. And really, like, for example, my daughter wants to go to a 5 a.m. workout class tomorrow, and that's a 4 a.m. wake up, right? So for me, I'm not used to sleeping. I mean, I like to go to bed early, but like I'm not used to going to bed that early, right? So then for things like that, I will use low dose melatonin to shift my cycle, my circadian rhythm just a little bit so that I'm actually sleepy to go to bed at a different time than I'm typically sleepy at.
Yeah, so that would actually be really helpful too. Then if you have like an early flight or something.
Yes.
And I think that
if
also
you're going to get a full, but you need to get a full 8 to 10 hours between the time you
Right.
take it. And because some people are like, I'm only going to sleep 6 hours and I'm going to take this, and it's not good, because then your melatonin is not out of your system when you wake up,
Right. Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that it's a hormone. Like they
Yeah.
don't realize when they don't understand like why it's so powerful. So yeah, you
Yes.
have to be careful with that. Um, I love this conversation though, because I think sleep is something so many of us struggle with. And I think anything to help anyone out there sleep better, this is amazing. I love hearing what you do. So I want to actually transition from sleep into another topic that I know you know so much about and talk a lot about. I want to talk about gut health, and actually
Yeah.
we could even start with, how does sleep affect our gut? Because I know your sleep does
Yes.
affect your microbiome. So let's start there and then just move into gut health. And I guess specifically with women in this perimenopause, menopause stage, because I think a lot of people have poor gut health during that time. And it's so important to have good gut health during that time. So that was a
Absolutely.
lot.
So, yeah, no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We have a trillion gut bacteria organisms in our gut, and that is as many as cells, as many uh, organisms as cells in our body. So it's literally
Hmm.
like this entire ecosystem that we've kind of ignored for many years,
Hmm.
and we are not eating to support them. They're not getting the food that they want. They're getting killed with all the kind of foods and antibiotics that we're eating. And um, because we're kind of ignored them, a lot of the problems that we have with our hormones, with our GI tract, with our energy levels, like actually stems from that gut microbiome. And so these trillions of organisms, they actually have a circadian rhythm just like we do,
Yeah.
and they
It's
need
wild.
sleep and rest just like we do.
Yeah.
So like if someone woke you up in the middle of the night and asked you to do a hard math problem, like, and then the next day you're going to feel like tired, hungover. That is how your gut feels when you eat a super late meal. Your
Hmm.
body needs a rest from food, and it also needs darkness and light, and those gut bacteria actually really respond to that. So
Hmm.
even it seems so unrelated, like if you're having bloating, or if you're having indigestion, or if you're having hormonal issues, like how does that have anything to do with the sleep wake cycles? But it does. Like that
Hmm.
can really improve all of that stuff. So, and it also, those gut bacteria, they determine what vitamins you absorb. They determine what cravings you have. They talk to your
Hmm.
brain all day long about the inflammation that's happening through the food that you eat. So it's a really interesting like connection between how our food really affects so much of our life, including our mood.
Yeah, I remember when I read about that your gut bacteria have their own circadian rhythm. I remember thinking that, like, okay, so now I got to say goodnight to my little bugs in my belly.
Yes.
Like, night,
Yes.
night, friends. Got to get a good
I
night's
know.
sleep
I
so
know.
you can be good to me tomorrow.
I know.
But it's wild when we think
Wild.
it's wild. And I know, I mean, when I barely learned about the microbiome when I went to school for
Oh
nutrition.
yeah,
I
at
mean,
all.
barely learned about it. And we certainly did not learn about the microbiome having a circadian rhythm. So I always find this area so interesting, because we're learning so much. And I mean, and I not only are we learning so much, and have we learned so much over the past, 5, 10 years. I mean, I think, and I'm curious what you think. I feel like we've just scratched the surface what we're going to learn about our gut health.
Oh yeah, 100%. So when I was in fellowship, so I did my fellowship at Columbia in Manhattan, and this was like 2010, so good, 15 years ago. I could not believe that was the first time ever that I had learned that there was this entire connection between the gut and the brain
Yeah.
and our immune system and our hormones. And they were all kind of talking to each other in the gut microbiome. And I was like, wait a second, what? Like, nobody's ever talked to me about this in my whole like medical school,
Yeah.
undergrad, and like, it was just at the beginning when all the microbiome studies were coming out, and now it's 15 years later and we still don't know that much about it, and we don't
Right.
talk enough about it and talk enough about how to modulate that so we can have better hormones as women, that we can have better brain health, that we can have better immune systems. Like, it's a shame, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, I think every day there's like something new we can learn about it, but I totally agree. And it's not that And it's also like we're talking about it here. And I think many people listening to this podcast, I'm sure, have heard about the microbiome, but most people out there don't really know anything about
No.
it. They may
Yeah.
have heard it, but they really don't know anything about it. And they're certainly not thinking, wow, I need to eat to feed my gut microbiome so everything else in my body can work properly. Like
Yeah.
they don't realize the power of it. So super important.
It's
Sunlight,
so
sunlight
powerful.
and gut bacteria. That's all you really need to know. And you're good to
There you
go.
go. There you go. And you need to feed those gut bacteria. I really think like the take home message here
Yeah.
is instead of ignoring this entire microbiome, like literally Amazon jungle that lives inside of you, if you actually nurture it and feed it and take care of it, it will give you gifts that you'd never even realized that you had.
Yeah.
Like it's literally that is the take home message. Like feed it good fiber, protein, probiotics, kind of decrease the amount of ultra processed foods that you're eating, alcohol included,
Yeah.
and you're going to notice a change within days.
Yeah. And I love that. Again, that was also, I'm glad you brought that up, that you can change your microbiome in even just a few days. Like you can actually change the gut bacteria, like what they're doing. You can change
Yeah.
what your gut bacteria is doing in a few days. So you can start to feel a difference right away. And because that's super motivating, right?
Yeah, it is
Sometimes
super
people,
motivating. I feel like that.
yeah, it is. It's really, really motivating. So let's talk a little bit about the gut as it relates to women in perimenopause and menopause, because I know that there is a shift there, and it is so important to have a healthy gut microbiome during that time. What do you say to women that are in that perimenopause stage about taking care of their gut that maybe is unique to them versus another stage of life?
I think that the gut and hormones are so intimately intertwined because basically the gut bacteria decide what to do with the hormones once they're in the gut. So like after they get so when you have hormones circulating in your system, they get conjugated by the liver and then they are made water soluble there. And then they enter your bile and they enter your GI tract. And then the gut microbiome has to decide what to do with it. Do we reabsorb that estrogen or do
Mhm.
we flush it out through our feces and throw it out? And it's so important for hormone balance to have a healthy gut microbiome to decide what to do with that excess hormone. And so for a lot of women who have hormone imbalance symptoms, it's really coming from that imbalanced gut microbiome.
Amazing. Because again, I think that's really inspiring for a lot of women that are having these hormone imbalances and all of these, disruptions to their lifestyle during the stage of life. Like you said, getting your sunlight, getting your sleep, eating whole real foods, making sure you're getting your fiber, taking a probiotic and eating probiotic foods, getting in some fermented food. It's like, bam, you can feel a
Yes.
lot better. You can feel a lot better by next week. It's amazing.
Literally,
This is
literally.
so good. Okay, well, I could talk to you for hours and
Me
hours,
too.
but I know that I won't take up more of your time now. But I might ask you to come back
I
though,
would love to.
because
Thank you.
would just love to keep chatting with
We have
you.
so many topics to touch on.
I
So
know
great.
so much. This is so good. Oh wait, and I have to just go back to one thing you said before, by the way. I mean, go your daughter. How awesome is she
Yeah.
that she wants to get up at 5 a.m. to go to workout class?
Oh my God, I know. I'm
I gotta
like,
give her props.
her and my husband go, and he has an event tonight. So he said to her, you know what? I'm not going to go to the 5 a.m. tomorrow because I have a late night event. And so she's like, because I went with her a couple of times and she was like, will you come with me tomorrow? Because she's 15, so she can't drive
Yeah,
herself. So
right.
she wouldn't be able to go. And so I was like, well, I guess I could, but I just have to go to bed early. Like how
Yeah,
we,
yeah,
with our
yeah,
sleep, I have to like plan accordingly.
yeah.
I'm like, planning my evening already so that I can do that. But yeah, it's really cool.
I mean, that's amazing. How awesome is she? I love that. So give her a high five for me.
Oh,
My last question for you, though, is what do you do on a daily basis to ignite your nutritious life?
that is such a great question. I think, okay, I'm going to give a very like maybe weird answer. I
Go
think
for it.
that I think giving myself an unrushed morning. I think
Ah,
that
love it.
honestly, the best days of my life and the most beautiful days of my life have been when I have a slow morning.
Okay.
Maybe that's just like an hour to both prep my food, get some mindfulness in, get a sunny walk in, and like it's like my secret to living a better life.
I love that. Slow
Yeah.
mornings.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so, so much for being on the show. I am so happy to have chatted with you today. All of Amy's information, where to find her, where to follow her if you don't, all of that good stuff is in the show notes. So everyone go and do that. And thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Until next time.